the banquet and the training session the next morning was actually a calm part in their mission. It was unlikely that it would remain this calm as they headed for round 1. A refined servant announced their arrival as they arrived at Tubitang, or Elevated Virescent Jade Hall, where the first round was to be held. Otis pointed out that it was an arena or stadium. Many eyes were on them. Dante looked up to see the audience seats, which was brimming with people, divided into stair-like terraces. On the platform at the opposite end of the hall, 3 shadows of chairs could be seen cast on the obscuring curtain fabric. As for them, they followed the attendants' guidance and stood next to the other participants at the circular area in the center. Dante asked Honglu if the evaluations happened past those curtains. Honglu was more focused on Dayu. Dante noticed that he recognized someone. Honglu dismissed this as nothing. Even if they were to meet again, they wouldn't have much to talk about anyway. They might have another chance later. Ishmael saw that things were finally getting started. The curtain slid open, and Jamu walked out to the platform. She told those attending that many scores ago she ascended to the seat of Jamu with a stroke of fortune. Yet, a lifetime has passed since she assumed that great responsibility. Such as it was, she sought to abdicate and walk the path of mountains and streams as a river does. With the seat voided, there was a responsibility to seek one with qualities of the family hierarch to fill it. Thus there at Dagyuan 1, a collective upheld by pillars of 4 great houses of Jia, Zui, Wang, and Shi, once again asked the perennial question: have they brought with them what they can to prove that the answer indeed exists? Jia Zheng was silent at this. Then Dante asked who the woman next to Jia Mu is. Honglu told them that it's his eldest sister, Jia Wanchun. Ah yes, as in the sister that would send assassins to kill those that she sees as a potential threat. Used as a reference by Jia Zichun to make it clear that Honglu sucks at treachery. At least, on purpose. Apparently she got married to very important person in Q-Corp. She spent most of her time there. She's visiting for that event. Jia Wanchun told them that though she lived in a different nest, she returned to share her love with her family, to fulfill her duties as observed by the order of filial piety. She returned that the truth shall be observed to the best of her abilities. Some of them walked a path that was laid, that was gentle to their feet. Some of them struggled through an unlaid, brutal path of cragged mountains, 1,000-fold to find their answers. Regardless, all of them equally have one opportunity for the first round. They were once prospective heirs of a great house. Even their failure shall bring power and prosperity to Dagyuan 1. She told them to come forth in the order that they are summoned and demonstrate the invaluable answers to the question of 3 freedoms. One from aging, one from death, and one from the brevity of life. If the nature of their answers indemonstrable, they should present ironclad proof. To lose not and discard not. Let fresh youth be unending and eternal. She and Jiamu then disappeared behind the curtains on the platform. Then Jia Zheng, the host for the first round, announced the first candidate, Wang Ren. Behind him was his faction, who was dragging something by a rope towards the platform. He demanded it hurry up. Ishmael asked who or what were they dragging up to the stage. Otis observed that whoever it is, they clearly didn't want to be there. Gregor considered what they were after, to be free from aging and death. He doesn't see H-Corp's pursuit of immortality as special in that regard, as that's every wing's dream, escaping and rising beyond the body that they were born with. Don Quixote noticed something about what was being dragged along, and she was not happy once she realized what Wang Ren had brought. He had brought a blood bag. They could answer to the question of immortality? Faust understood that blood fiends may appear to have truly retained freedom from aging, but as they are now aware, they can grow old and weak if they don't feed on blood for an amount of time. This is unlikely to provide the answer they seek. After some struggle, the blood bag was dragged kicking and growling past the curtains atop the platform. The audience thought that it was a blood fiend. One of them was suspicious that this would pass. Blood fiends are esoteric, but this is seen as lukewarm trivia to the judges, seeing him as pretty desperate. One even saw him as either lazy or in need of psychological help. Yi Sang observed that knowledge of blood fiends was oddly common knowledge to them. Don Quixote confirmed this, and she then spoke of personal experience during this. They are present in every nest. Those that have arcane knowledge will be aware of their existence. After a brief moment that lasted less than a minute, Wang Ren and his faction emerged from behind the curtains and descended from the platform. Jia Zheng told him to stand upon the podium and await his judgment. He then announced his results for round 1 of the family Hierarch Evaluations. Elimination. This was a disaster for Wang Ren, explaining that all they need is blood. As long as that is supplied, they will be eternal and everlasting, begging Jiamu. Then Don Quixote interrupted him, understanding what it's like to be a blood fiend, as she is one. She didn't think so. She doesn't see it as an eternity at all. It's not true immortality. It's longevity shackled by blood and endless suffering. Wang Ren was told by the hunters that they all retain their memories. Don Quixote added that to become a blood fiend is to surrender all the desires and emotions that exist within them for a singular hunger for blood. Acceptable for those who expect nothing but fathomless torment for the rest of their lives. Yet for those with much to lose, with much in life to cling on to, as those present seem to, the fate of a blood fiend is no freedom from aging and death, but a sanguine shackle to enslave their minds. Jiamu, perhaps not knowing that Don Quixote is herself a blood fiend, saw this reply as excellent. No further evaluation, or elaboration rather, is necessary. Jia Yuanchun added that he didn't even bring to them a higher kindred or even a blood fiend, seeing what he had brought was a miserable blood bag, seeing no reason to commend his efforts. Jia Zheng told him that they had spoken and mercifully gave him a full explanation of his mistake, which failed candidates didn't deserve, telling him that it's the final blessing of his life. And I think we can guess what's coming next. Then the podium opened up and Wang Ren, along with the blood bag, fell into the pit, likely dropping to his death. Dante now understanding what it means to be eliminated in this context. Roger asked if it was just for dramatic effect, hoping that there was a side path leading back upstairs. Ryushu said no, asking if she can't smell the stench of festering pain, rising like heat from the depths. Roger was nervous at this, thinking that Ryushu was joking, and it was quite a nasty joke at that. Otis asked where that hole led. She could tell that the time between the drop and the sound of the fall, it goes quite far down. Honglu believed that it's a place that leads to somewhere with lots of old family secrets. Not treasures, but trying to figure that out might get a visit from the Haishu. Likely to protect said secrets from those that might reveal them. Ishmael saw that they went all out with the theatrics. Gregor was afraid that they'd be the ones screaming and falling down that hole later. The next candidate was summoned before they could get over the initial shock. The second candidate was from the Zoe family. After that, they witnessed a series of failures. They could see less from the others than the blood bag, and the answers were less obvious, so all they could do, or rather, all they could go on were the shadows of their desperate attempts to explain things before the judges. Gregor saw another one had fallen to their deaths. Ryushu said, BAH, or boring as hell, as the depths were where those that fell to their deaths came. For those that failed, it became less shocking to them. Gregor asked if they were going to fail everyone. Then we had the 8th candidate, Zoe Biochai. Roger knew of her. She was technically the competition, but it seemed like she managed to give the positive impression to the judges. They certainly gained a positive impression of her based on their brief encounter with her. Some were even cheering her on. They couldn't see what she was holding on to, but she brought it past the curtains. It was a brief meeting with the judges, but it's gone better than expected. She emerged. Then she immediately turned in their direction, specifically to Honglu, asking if he was watching her, waving her hand. Then Jia Zheng announced that she passed. Yi Sang understood that they might have had a passing connection, but he didn't want her to plummet to her death. He was relieved by this result of hers. Jia Zheng then spoke of the 17th candidate, Jia Zichun. This caught Dante's attention, Sinclair's as well. She slowly ascended the platform, unaccompanied. In her hands was a tightly sealed gourd bottle. Honglu saw that she found it. Dante understood this to be the river from Don Quixote's memories. Otis didn't see this as possible, to find Leffe. Faust saw the possibility of reaching Leffe as so low it might as well be impossible. While Faust can't comprehend how Jia Zichun could reach the deepest fathoms, especially considering the relatively short passage of time since their last encounter, probably no more than 2 weeks at most. Faust believed that she more likely obtained the waters by collecting its dew or a portion of what seeped out. Don Quixote, having been there and drank it, told them that it only causes memories to slumber, asking if it holds the link to the immortality they seek. Faust thinks so, seeing it is likely to be closely connected to the immortality of the mind that they pursue. Not many are even aware of the rivers. If the contents were genuine, she expects Jia Sichun to pass. And according to her father, she did. Jia Yunchun saw it as a priceless treasure, seeing it as taking unparalleled efforts to obtain that. Given the meager size of her faction, Jia Sichun thanked her. What she brought to the judges was clearly satisfactory. Oh yes, and lose not and discard not. Let fresh youth be unending and eternal. This was a metaphor originally used by Jia Bayu in Dream of the Red Chamber. Yes, the source material. When he expressed his determination to stay with Lin Dayu when hearing that she might be leaving permanently soon. Although in this case, it turned out that it was he who left, not her. Oh, don't worry. The more exact details will be revealed eventually. Just not right now. Then Jia Jing got to the 18th candidate. Heathcliff was wondering how many were in that household. It was Jia Huan. Yeah. That guy. I was wondering when he was going to turn up. Yi Sang was less than pleased with this. Dante remembered the first meeting wasn't good, and this was unlikely to go much better. Then Jia Huan walked up to the platform. Gregor had nothing but contempt for him, as he was there with Herman in District 4. The tension for some was clear. The other man that was closely following Jia Huan, holding an abnormality egg, was also familiar. He was seen in Yi Sang's memories. This was Gubo, and Ishmael asked Dante if they were seeing what they were wearing. Masot saw Egeo gears. Gubo was wearing that of the Fushus, and Jia Huan was wearing that of the Spiral of Contempt. Faust saw two possibilities. They either developed their own extraction method, or they scavenged them from the Lobotomy Corporation branch facilities. Well, there was likely at least one in District 14. Yi Sang saw that Gubo was carrying an abnormality egg, and Gregor was asking if they were planning to just offer them an abnormality egg. Dante asked how that's an answer to anything. Faust saw that while there's room for interpretation, some may present a reasonably argued interpretation that abnormalities that are near immortal, well, Uji saw that their success depends on which abnormality that egg ends up being. Honglu knew that he'd not risk his life for something that he thinks that he'd fail at. Jia Jing made it clear that he passed, despite what most of them would wish. Many more candidates came and went. One of them carried a massive, mysterious coffin. This was Wang Dawei. Dante then went on to speak of one bringing a thick book. One had a cage so tiny that they couldn't see what was within. Some passed. Some went screaming into the abyss. As they waited and watched the candidates come and go, the people from N Corps, their turn completed, approached them. Yi Sang saw that twilight was early, as was their meeting. Yi Sang proved his words back at LCE. Accepting things as they are. He coldly regarded Gubo, who was working for Encore. Gubo believed that Yi Sang found this small and barren respite of his quite endurable. He hadn't seen him jest as he did now since the League of Nine fell. Yi Sang asked why he approached him. The rift between them was too great for them to chatter on with any affection to speak of. This wasn't Gubo's intent. He would rather not approach him. Jia Huan simply wished to have a look at Hong Lu's face, so he wanted to see how he was faring while he was doing so. Hong Lu was seeing that everyone was coming back to Daguan 1, now that the family hierarch war had started. It was their first meeting since then, wasn't it? Jia Huan was as full of contempt as the Ichio gear that he was wearing, seeing him as the fool who had eyes, but didn't know how to see. He normally was averse to even the mention of the word hierarch, so why was he there? Asking who was he and his stinking entourage working for this time? Asking if it was Zoe Baichai, who was blinded by his looks to the revolting rots within? Or was it Jia Sichun, who still defended him in his meaningless, fall-profound spiel, deluded in her belief that he's still the same boy from her childhood? Then we see a memory where the older male from earlier asked, why didn't he save him? Then he asked, why did he save her and only her? Jia Bayu told him that humans die. That's what they're born to do. A refined servant told them that the next candidate would be judged soon. Candidates must return to their seats. Jia Huan saw the servant as barely even a living thing, and then Gubo told him that they should return. That discourse will not bear any fruits. Otis asked if this was a reunion party. Heathcliff was angered by this, seeing those shameless as there to steal their things again. Well, N-Corp has a history of relying on ambush tactics and waiting until their enemy is weakened before taking what they came there for. Ishmael sees something different about them today. Val saw that the safer option was to place higher than them. Sinclair sees another one had fallen, believing that his family was watching that, asking if they'll be okay. He can't imagine how anyone would be okay watching their own family member fall like. Gregor then pointed out the people sitting behind them. They were his parents, seeing their son as a pathetic failure and a disappointment. Another told them that they shouldn't worry, they had faith in their third child. It's not like they expected anything from that one. How conditional their love is. Yeah. Social Darwinism at its finest. If they weren't good enough to pass, they deserve to fall to their deaths. Well, that's what I got from those parents of his. Sinclair now saw what it meant to dedicate your whole life to becoming the family hierarch. Hong Lu told him that many desperately vie for the seat of family hierarch. Some of them, like his parents, hope to have their friend or a close relative become that instead. Otis understood this to mean that they seek to seize a lifetime's worth of riches, power, and recognition by planting someone that they can control in that position, without becoming one themselves. Yeah, likely content to be lesser targets. Ryushu sees that kind as having a low shelf life. Hong Lu was able to know how his long-lost siblings were doing thanks to that unforeseen opportunity. Then Jia Zheng announced Zoe Pan as the 27th candidate. He looked positively psychotic. Gregor wanted to know where he heard that name before. Hong Lu told him that he's Zoe Baichai's older brother. Zoe Pan walked up to the platform, holding what appeared to be a large jar with multiple talismans plastered over it. Roger felt uneasy, suspecting that he was up to something. Ishmael asked, "Who there wasn't?" Heathcliff saw him as different, as Zoepan was walking up to the podium instead of the platform, and into the curtains. Heathcliff saw that he might have lost the plot. Jia Zheng told him to ascend to the platform and enter the curtain threshold. Zoepan asked, "What's the point in walking down the straightforward road?" He saw it as only right that something so precious and entertaining should be shared with everyone, asking if he wouldn't agree. Otis was on alert upon hearing those words. Then he placed the jar on the ground. From within, a desiccated hand emerged. Riju saw this as pathetic sorcerous trickery, seeing this as distasteful. Dante asked why Rodia wanted to know what was going on. Dante saw corpses, their desiccated flesh covered in a light, sparse layer of old papers. They crawled out of the jar and began to shamble. Dante could tell that they were neither distortions nor abnormalities. Otis saw that they acted like blood bags or sub-entities enslaved by abnormalities. Any consciousness that they might have had was stripped from them. They will attack indiscriminately. They're just as intent on maiming and killing any that they can get their claws on. Advising that they prepare for battle, awaiting their orders. Then the jar monster moved towards all those present. Those that could run away, they did. Those that couldn't get away in time were killed, stuffed into jars when they were still alive. Me. This reminds me of the shamans in Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree. Although that was for a different purpose. Sinclair asked why those organizing this aren't doing anything. It's an event hosted by a wing. Hongdu explained that there wasn't a rule in the family hierarch war that prohibits bringing harm to other people. Gregor was asking if they're just going to sit back and watch this, because none told those participating to step in, seeing this as insanity. Roger asked if they should step in. Honglu certainly thought so that they could survive, as they can't participate in this if they're dead. The monsters swarmed in. Some scattered and ran away, while some tried to fight back. Those that did neither were slaughtered. Dante was reminded of the confident smile that they'd passed the first round with little to no trouble. Dante saw that they had no choice but to take them down, and so they fought the jar monsters. They would claw their way through their enemies. They primarily inflict rupture, but can also make their target bleed. One attack can even gain power based on the missing HP that it has, and another can randomly inflict negative status ailments, including offense level down, defense level down, paralyze, and bind. It can also inflict poison each turn, and even more if it kills itself. It's weak to gluttony, gloom, and envy, while strong against wrath and lust. Also to a lesser extent slash and blunt. Although this was the elite, the regular jar monsters have a weakness to pierce as well. After fighting the jar monsters for a time, it was noticed that many of the audience had fled from their seats. Those that was once brimming with people had fled. The candidate zone was littered with bodies of candidates who were mauled to death. The jar monsters, who had had their fill, crawled back into the jar. Dante looked around and saw some candidates still holding tightly onto the treasures that they each had brought to this contest, even as they drew their last breaths. In the midst of all that, Destruction stood the cause of that chaos. Watching the slaughter play out with assured confidence, it was Zuipan who acted like someone that would go out for drinks with the Joker as he laughed madly, asking how will they attain freedom from aging? How will they argue freedom from death with minds so dull and bodies so frail? Asking the judges what they say about this. He presents before them not only the clue to immortality, but also a treasure that brings ruin to those who would dare to deceive them. His answer to the perennial question. Jiamu saw that he brought them the clay of the jar. Jia Wanchun asked if it can be said that those that failed to survive that didn't qualify as family hierarch candidates. Well, you can't be a family hierarch if you're dead. At least not in the way that life insurance or any other method of bringing you back can do so. Jia Zheng saw that Zuipan passed. Gregor's horrified that he gets to pass when he almost got everyone killed. Faust informed him that all that mattered that what he brought met their standards. Otis understood what he wanted to do. 2 birds with 1 stone, as he also eliminated some from the competition. This Heathcliff off, telling them that if they run into that in round 2, they'd better let him take more than a few swings at him. Yeah, I'm sure Dante will. I can see it like this. Alright, Mr. Baseball Bat, let's go smash someone's skull in! I'm actually relieved that cricket doesn't survive in this grimdark future, as that's one of the most boring sports I can think of, although the cricket bat is a better blunt force weapon. Then Jia Zheng called for the 28th candidate, Shi Dazen. But no one walks up to the platform. As he failed to appear, he was eliminated by default. He then called for a few other names, up to the 30th candidates. But Otis understood that they were likely among the dead. Well, either that or they were too scared to come back. Jishu saw them as disappointingly MB. Sinclair agreed that all the mediocre bunch got wiped out from that attack. She added that the leftovers are exhausted. She looked around as though she was delivering some kind of critique, at least as far as Dante was concerned. Then she looked threatened, speaking of a lug, recognizing one in the crowd. And I certainly recognize the uniform. They are in deep. Ryushi called him a mother. Thankfully, he interrupted her, remarking rather, that he thought that she'd vanished into the earth. What was she doing crawling around there? She gave him the evil eye. And he told her that she should at least have the decency to say hi. Dante, understanding this newcomer can't understand them, and just as well, asked Ryushu if that guy was talking to them. She briefly laughed. Dante saw this very, very rare display of raw emotion, anxiety and fury was clearly visible. Sinclair asked if she knew him. Heathcliff was intimidated, seeing him as an absolute unit, as that bloke has got to be at least 2 meters tall. Faust knew what he was affiliated with, telling Dante and the others to avert their eyes, and it's recommended that they don't say a word to him. Well, not unless he initiates the conversation at least. And this was agreed. as they have to think carefully about whether they can even come close to his rank before speaking to him. Ryushu was certainly brave, or reckless, depending on how you see it, telling them that this head is Lei Heng. He's a finger. Faust specified that he's with the Thumb, a syndicate with the strictest adherence to rigid hierarchical structure, even among the fingers. Yeah. You no show respect, you'll sleep with the fishes, capiche? Where breaches of protocol are typically punished with, physical mutilation, and in some cases, death. Where fixer below grade 1 is a equivalent of a Sadato or a middle little brother/sister, while grade 1s are seen as an equal to a thumb couple or middle young brother. The head of a wing like Jamu is also the equivalent of a Sota couple, while a star of the city like Angela was higher than a Sota couple, perhaps even a capo de capi or a great brother/sister. Now, the Thumb are based on the Sicilian Mafia. Faust told them that Lei Heng's placement in the hierarchy is the highest even among couples. His rank is immediately beneath the position of a Sota couple, revealing something new that even among the ranks they have specific sub-ranks, so they'd need to check where each ranks before they decide what to do. Warning them that, a small mistake could drag them into a battle that they don't want to fight, asking Dante to order everyone not to say a word. Dante didn't know what was going on, but they understood enough to know that they shouldn't provoke Lei Heng, unless they were sure that they could get away with it, as they already have Big Brother Ricardo of the Middle hunting them down. They don't want to off the Thumb, and they'll do so for less petty reasons. So they ordered everyone to do just that. Lei Heng began stomping his way through the crowd towards them, casually but shoving anyone in his way to the sides. His gait, blasé and brutish, but his eyes were fixated on Ryushu. Among the crowd, they either averted their eyes or simply got out of his way. He clearly gets this reaction a lot. Then a cry came from the crowd. It came from a furious attendant, who told the big brute, how dare he block Nangong Xianhe's view. He stands before the retinue of the Nangong family. The house shall soon be one of the 4 houses. This turned out to be quite suicidal for that attendant, as Lei Heng responded by shooting him in the right arm. Clearly this response was considered proportionate to speaking like this in front of a Thumb couple. Protocol that extends even to outsiders. The attendant was screaming in agony, but this was muffled by Lei Heng shoving his right hand down his throat and ripping his tongue out of his mouth. He then directed his attention to Nangong Xianhe, telling him that he owes him an arm, due to his negligence in letting his attendant speak out of turn. Nangong Xianhe wisely decided to get this over with, despite being terrified. Lei Heng then snapped it like a twig. Well, nothing a bolus, regen ampule, or even prosthetics or cloned body parts can't fix. Apparently, this is him going easy on him. He was in a friendly mood seeing Ryushu. A friendly face. That's friendly to you? He then asks if Ryushu missed the spider's house, not believing anyone would. Even he was nervous whenever he had to swing by. They have to catch up later. He'll teach her how to hold that sword right, like back when. Lei Heng thought that his was the best out of them all. He thought that he taught her how to make every cut feel delicious. Faust whispered to Ryushu, reminding her that it wasn't yet the time. Ryushu told her to shut up. She was clearly off. Faust reminded her of the promise made before she signed up with Limbus Company. Lei Heng told Ryushu to get her stick out of her. He's not there to pick her up, not wanting to teach her a lesson like in the past, telling her that her baby is still at the house. These words were causing Ryushu to grab the hilt of her sword, like she was about to unsheath it, the same sword that she refused to unsheath since she joined them. He asked if he was wrong about that, asking what happened. He's not exactly that deep in their business. Something went down there. He was amused that she was wanting to unsheath that blade. Faust cautioned Ryushu, who looked at him with an angered expression. Lei Heng then received a call from the Sotokapo. He had to take it. He vowed to meet them later. They could talk about their daddies or some other then. Telling Yoshihide that he'll see her around. That's clearly foreshadowing that Ryushu is the next one after Honglu, much as Jia Zichun was foreshadowing for Honglu being after Don Quixote. Most likely District 17, considering that the Haishu use weapons that use Q-Corp singularity. Although, that's dependent on the writers. It's certainly not District 3, as that's Claw territory. There's probably tougher restrictions to get in there, so it's either District 17 or District 9, where the pianist attacked, which led the Black Silence on his vengeful rampage, or rather, it led to that, after his wife was one of the victims. He went back into the crowd to take that call. Dante understood that he was there for the family Hierarch war. Faust saw that the outcome of this determines the immediate, foreseeable future of H-Corps, which brings parties of varying, possibly clashing interests. Ishmael noticed that Heathcliff didn't rush ahead this time, worrying if it was going to be like that time with the Middle. Heathcliff knows of the fun from his syndicate days. He knows better than to provoke them. As for the Middle, how was he supposed to know that the hair salon coupons belong... Well, yeah, those hair salon coupons belong to a big brother the Middle. Besides, they hang... Masol interrupted him by saying that he's more powerful and violent than Ricardo. Yeah, they're not ready for him yet. Yi Sang told them that the thumb commands its own manner of terror and violence, unlike that of the Middle. While they were discussing this, Ryushu was frozen in place, in the same position she had been in when Lei Heng walked past her, spacing out. She spoke of it going all the way to the pinky. Oh yes, the only finger that we've yet to find anything about. Then, Father Chaos was about to overtake the crowd and candidates. Jia Zheng called for the 32nd candidate, Jia Qiu. This caused the hall to settle into a hushed silence. He clearly doesn't say anything unless it's worth saying. He was flanked by two individuals. that weren't Zilu and Zigong. As they were walking up to the platform, Dante wanted to know who the other two were. Honglu had never met them before, seeing them as his answers to immortality. Ishmael asking who could they possibly be. Ursis didn't see either as particularly skilled in combat. Sinclair saw them nervously looking around. And this is Sinclair noticing this. Faust believing that they're survivors of the library. Now this caught Dante's attention. Faust added that they're the only ones who might be able to explain that very force. Jia Q didn't spend much time behind the curtains with an unchanged expression. Jia Mu saw the testimony as ringing true. Both were survivors of a place that went beyond Star of the City before it vanished. Jia Yuanchun thought it was a shame that they couldn't get an invitation, likely because Carmen didn't see the Jia family as worthy of her attention. Jia Zheng announced that he passed. Roger believed that anxiety was a foreign concept to him. Jia Zheng believed that this covered all of the candidates, with the first round complete, to all 4 families who had graced that hall. Then Honglu interrupted him, which, unlike Jia Q, roused the room to a roaring chaos of confusion. This surprised Jia Zheng, and not in a good way. Honglu told them that he might have missed a candidate. Jia Zheng believed that he covered every candidate on the list. Honglu told him that he missed him. Jia Bayu will take part in the family hierarch evaluations. As for the 2 that was with Jia Q, one of them was Hanafuda, a fixer from Jiang's office, an urban plague level threat. She was from District 10, and her office was an Uifi Association affiliate. Yeah, as in the glorified lawyers. The other was a night owl, a former subsidiary of the firm, who, when their leader questioned the order of the Capo de Capi in front of Sotocapo Carlo, he was killed, and Carlo ordered the night owls to be hunted down and wiped out. Jia Q likely offered them both some financial compensation to take part in this. Hanafuda to either find a way back to District 10 or to re-establish herself in District 8, and in the Night Owl's case, probably just to survive. I mean, it's a miracle that Lei Heng didn't come for him. Unless he doesn't know of the Night Owls in the East. It was at least a year since then, so the heat's probably off by that point. Yeah, next part will start with Honglu being a part of round 1. Until next time, hail the rabbit!